It's no surprise that Guerrilla Games would give us more story content after releasing Forbidden West, especially with all the clues within the main game. And it took some time, but I'm happy I got to finally play the Burning Shores DLC. It's kinda like what they did for Zero Dawn with Frozen Wilds. Now some people might not agree with me saying this, but I'm glad it's a PS5 exclusive, because they were able to do things within this DLC that I don't think would have been possible on the previous gen consoles. Now I'm not too well versed in this field, so if you want a more in-depth video expanding on this, I'll recommend watching Digital Foundry's tech review. I'll link it in the description. Anyway, these technical aspects are a glimpse into where things can be pushed forward in the third entry. But even with all that said, there were still some issues I had to deal with, which I'm sure will be fixed in the near future, but they did interrupt the flow of the gameplay for me, unfortunately. But we'll save that for later, because right now I want to dive deeper into what this DLC had to offer, so let's get into it. Burning Shores picks up right after the events of the main game. Aloy gets a call from Silence telling her to meet him at a specific location to give her some important information. And during this whole scene, you get the classic back and forth between these two, with great performances from Ashley Birch and Lance Reddick. He tells Aloy about this guy called Walter Lundra, who was a well-known aerospace magnate / Hollywood celebrity, so straight away you can guess what kind of person he is. So now it's up to Aloy to journey to Los Angeles, which is now known as the Burning Shores, to figure out how to stop the possible threats. But while on her way there, she notices a tower shooting out beams of energy and multiple shots aiming straight at her. She's then thrown off her mount and has to rely on a shield wing glider. After landing gracefully without any issue, she ends up meeting one of the locals investigating the island named Seika, played by Kylie Leah Page, and they quickly team up to fight off the hostile machines. That's when you finally get to pick up the controller again, and straight away you'll notice some big environmental changes, like these crystals stuck to the walls that aren't just there for decoration and can be very useful for taking down enemies. There's some new skills like Machine Grapple Strike, which makes it so much easier to give an enemy that quick and final hit. You also get to cause further damage afterwards with a Resonator Blast, which also affects any nearby enemies. And of course, there's some new machine types on the side of the map ready to test your skill and patience, and trust me, they definitely do. So it obviously made sense for Guerrilla Games to give us the chance to buy a few new weapons and armor to help out with these frustrating moments. One of the new additions in this DLC is the Spectre Gauntlet, and this weapon is incredible. The upgrade is a game changer too, as you can see. Pretty much all enemies don't stand a chance, as it more than levels the playing field. It's almost actually unfair, to be honest. It also makes taking down airborne enemies a lot easier, as you can now lock onto any part of that machine and just shoot. Speaking of airborne, it was a crazy moment when we got to fly around on a Sunwing in the base game, but they actually expand on this with these new Water Wing machines that swim as well. The transition from enemies shooting deadly projectiles at you to quickly submerging into a calm and peaceful underwater space is just, it's something else, man. And as far as the story, I thought it was decent. I do prefer the story of Frozen Wilds a lot more, but this game still had a few surprises that were worth it in the end. I managed to beat the story within 5 or 6 hours, which is a good amount of time for a DLC in my opinion. And if you're that type of gamer that likes to explore and do all the side missions and collectibles and all that, then you're looking at around 10+ hours. It definitely felt like I got my money's worth when I compare it to other DLCs I played in the past. A lot of effort was put into making sure that there were more things to do after completing the main missions, and that's something I can appreciate. I've got to shed some light on the hard work that the team put into this whole project. Whether you like the game or not, you can't deny the parts of it that shine the most, and I can appreciate the time and effort that went into it. You probably don't care about all that behind the scenes stuff, but it always adds to the hype for me whenever I see footage of the actors and the rest of the team just doing what they do best. Doesn't take away from all the issues I had, but I'm trying to keep things positive for now. The opening theme introduced in Zero Dawn quickly became one of my favorite pieces of music in gaming. It perfectly represents not only Aloy as a character, but also the look and feel of the game's world. And let me just say that the music doesn't fall short here either. These guys once again created something special which perfectly captures each moment being played. I wish there was more I can say in this section without spoiling those moments, because I think this is something that should be experienced firsthand. And yeah, I know a lot of people care more about the action and the gameplay, but it definitely enhanced the experience for me personally. So yeah, if you're into that, then I definitely recommend experiencing it for yourself, or at least checking out the soundtrack. I think it's worth it. With all that being said, those issues I mentioned earlier did get quite frustrating at times. For example, there were moments where important dialogue just wouldn't play at all. Good thing I had the subtitles on, but yeah, that shouldn't have been an issue in the first place. And as much as I really enjoyed the music, there are moments where it would often overpower the dialogue. Maybe it's just me, but even after turning it down in the game, it still didn't help much, and this broke the immersion a little bit. Believe it or not, this is something I had to deal with even in the first game, so hopefully this gets sorted out in the next one. The glitches in this game aren't as bad as some games I've played in the past, and I know there's always a day one patch or whatever, but that doesn't always fix it. And I hate that this is the standard nowadays when it comes to new releases, but anyway. Overall, the game was still enjoyable, especially the major spoilery parts of it, which I think should be experienced firsthand. I have my own theories on where the story could go moving forward, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with these characters. Let me know down below what you thought about the game, and feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hear more in the future. Anyway, that's all I've got for now, so I'll catch you in a bit.